The senior high program not only will reinforce some of the lessons that they've had twice already, but it's also going to expand the information and the training related to conflict resolution to reduce violence. And I think that's important at a time when just a few short weeks ago we had the tragic death of Paul Antonich as a result of an automobile accident, a minor automobile accident.
Our sleeve over the top to keep any sparks from getting on our hand. We want to protect our hands so we can work all day long.
Wear a special jacket and goggles so the sparks won't get in your eyes and it'll burn your eyes. And you're supposed to wear a helmet.
Ride number 2.
They decide what to do with it. People who live up here appreciate the environment possibly more than people in other parts of the state because we have such abundant beauty up here and we have a lot of greenery and open spaces and parks, and I think people who live up here appreciate the environment, and I think our legislators do as well.
The theft charges against former athletic director Bruce McLeod could have long-term effects on the university, especially when it comes to athletic funding from the state.
Well,
Representative Tom Huntley.
Some harm was done to the university by being in the press, being in the newspaper once a week for 5 months, it seems like. That doesn't help. We'll have to play defense for a while instead of playing offense. But if I can tell you that there'll be questions when the hearings are held.
Huntley says those questions will come when one particular issue is brought up next session, money for women's athletics. That money is known as the state special, money that is set aside to supplement women's programs. Huntley says the audit done to probe into McLeod's handling of university money also unveiled wrongdoings in the way that state money was used.
In terms of funding, something like 95% of the funding for women's athletics was paid for by the state special, which was not the intent. The state special was to sort of supplement what the university was doing for women's athletics. It was not to pay the entire amount. And that's a shortcoming. That's was not fair to women. UMD is going to have to make some corrections and change how they fund women's athletics.
And someone who intends to help make sure those changes happen is State Representative Chris Haskamp.
I want a major change in the accounting procedures for it before I will go back to my colleagues and defend another appropriation.
Despite the athletic department's recent problems, both Huntley and Haskamp say they will fight for UMD to get its share of women's athletics money from the state. University officials will go before the legislature and ask for that money when the session opens in January.
If you punish UMD, all you're doing is punishing students. You know, you're not going to punish the faculty. You're not going to punish the administration. What you're going to do is you give less for students. And I don't think that's what the legislature is really intending. They may be very mad at UMD for some of the things we've done, but I don't think they want to hurt our students.
In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
You get more money. Oh, reds are $7 for the pack. Other than that, they're all the same.
Thanks.
I want to try the candy store actually. They might have it on the side. What's a fun family? It's coming up.
Topeka. That's a good start.
One, two, three. In the first year, it was set aside $250,000 and told communities that they could match that with cash, or even more unique than that is to match that with sweat equity and materials. And in many cases throughout this community, we've seen some great projects where materials have been donated, communities have gotten together. In some areas, community clubs who are stagnant and pretty much non-existent suddenly became alive because
The company.
Clears it for everybody. They don't have. We've got 3 or 4 people that we're working with at the moment. We don't have any contracts in place at the moment.
On Monday morning, September 30th, a home was burglarized on Hawkins Street near Marshall School in Duluth. The family was at work, so the burglars located a door that was out of sight of the neighbors and kicked it open. They searched nearly every room in the house and stole money and jewelry. In the basement, they forced open 2 gun cabinets and stole 3 handguns. 2 of the guns were small caliber, and the other was a .357 Ruger. The total loss was over $3,500. Police are especially concerned when guns are stolen, because they're often used to commit other crimes. Call Crime Stoppers if you know who the burglars are or what they did with the stolen guns or jewelry. We'll pay a reward up to $1,000 in cash and keep the caller's name anonymous. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
our stuff is so worn out, so.
Well, that's just got to be
shocked me.
It shocked the department.
And certainly, if you suspend somebody on speculative matters, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And if he would have done something wrong and would have proven something wrong, then of course that suspension would have been upheld. But you can't do it for just speculation.
For this entire study, and in particular single out Al Beaton, the international coordinator for the TIMS study, who has been tremendously
researcher from Michigan State University who coordinated the U.S. representative to TIMS, and he will present the
points with you. My first point, I'm here to tell you that we have found that no single intellectually coherent vision dominates U.S. educational practice.
One of the premier issues is obviously communication and lack thereof, and either a perceived or real act of arrogance on the part of state officials.
A true albino buffalo, the odds of one being born are estimated at 1 in 6 billion. At birth, this 3-month-old calf was constantly surrounded by the herd. It's now hovered over by its protective mother. Among some Native American tribes, the role of the white buffalo is as significant as the role of Christ to Christians.
And the other cows were even licking him.
Well.
Well, her, I should say. You know, just like it was their own, and they were all right around.
Isn't that?
It's all started a media wave of curiosity that has left Daniel and Paul Sherrick a bit uncomfortable.
In the last week, yes, we did. Had quite a bit of it.
Lots of calls from radio, TV?
Yes.
Getting tired of it yet, or?
Not yet, but I think we will be.
What do you think you're going to do with this, with the calf?
I don't know, but we would like to maybe sell it, and I would like to keep for till it get the horns.
And what is most unusual on the Sherrick farm is that another white buffalo was born here last spring. That one did not survive, but this fellow seems to be doing well. A white buffalo born in Wisconsin 2 years ago attracted tens of thousands of visitors, but that one eventually changed colors.
Any plans for this calf? Any idea what you'll do?
No plans. No, we don't have any plans at all.
Think it could become kind of a show place for your operation here?
Well, we hope it isn't too big of a show place.
So far, no calls from any big money promoters, but with the number of phone calls coming in here, that's likely to change if the buffalo doesn't. Near Michigan, North Dakota, I'm Neil Carlson reporting for NBC News.
好，谢谢。天穹那边可不可以支援啊？
在野党的委员是聚集在整个主席台的前面，试着进行顺序，防止在野党对主席做任何的议事杯葛。已经将投票的结果交给立法院长刘松凡，刘院长相信应该马上就会对投票结果做。
This holiday, if you're shopping for the little girl who has everything,
boy, do we have the toy for you. That little girl definitely doesn't have this. She's the My Twin doll, and she's designed to look exactly like your little girl.
Her eyes are blue like mine. She has eyebrows like mine.
Little Kelly Murphy is proud to show off her twin, who even has the same pigtails. The doll is the creation of this man, Reed Wilcox. His daughter has one, too. He says the concept is to boost the girl's self-esteem.
We go wherever we have to go in the world to find a wheelchair or a hearing aid or anything that we might need to find to really make this doll personalized.
I want they match to get. Well, if you want one, you should know that the doll costs $150 plus shipping and handling. To order it, you just fill out a personal profile form from the FAO Schwartz catalog. They ask you specifics about your daughter's eyes, hair color, even her eyebrows. You also send a picture.
Just think, a lasting memory of your child at this age. And when she goes off to college, you still have your little girl to hug.
That's why these Cheektowaga school kids are going underground, you might say, taking the Earth's temperature in Celsius and measuring the depth of the holes they've dug.
How deep is that?
Five.
Five what?
Centimeters.
Centimeters, okay. Can you convert that to inches or not?
Probably not.
But there's creeping metric almost everywhere. Just take a look. 1 3/4 ounces, but 49.6 grams, 20 fluid ounces, 1.25 pints, and 591 milliliters.
591 milliliters.
But
you don't go in and ask for, give me 591 milliliters. No, do you? No.
But this auto mechanic has a dual set of tools, one for inches, the other for millimeters.
GM and Ford and Chrysler kind of still hang on to the 9/16 half inch, and they, for some reason, between the two, but then right next to it they'll have a bolt that's 15 millimeters.
And look here, the word liter in boldface, quarts in parentheses. How deep is that 5-centimeter hole in inches?
Around 3.
So it may be just a matter of time before the speed here goes from 30 to 48 kilometers an hour, that is. Rich Kelman for NBC News in Buffalo, New York.
That's where it looked like it started. That's where most of the fire was when we got there. But the wind was coming out of the east, so it blew the wind. You know, the wind blew the fire right down the length of the building.
It's just like heaven.
TV newscasts and local radio shows, our phone immediately began ringing with calls from Ohioans who ate the fat-free Pringles and several hours later got sick. Those people suffered all the symptoms that Procter & Gamble's own tests predicted would occur. Loose stools, diarrhea, gas, fecal urgency, and incontinence.
When police arrived on the scene, they saw the brown box sitting on the street corner. There has been no indication why it was left there, but attached to the package was this handwritten note dated today. It is addressed to the Inspector General to be opened at Christmas and reads, quote, "From all the families and relatives of the victims of the New York airline tragedy." Police blocked off traffic as well as a portion of the skywalk system as they called for help from the bomb squad stationed at the Duluth Air National Guard base. The package was then safely blown apart to find out what was inside.
Fire in the hole!
It looks like there were some notes in it. He said he had put his wallet in there, and it looks like there is the remains of a wallet and just miscellaneous papers and whatever.
Duluth police did locate the man they say dropped off the package. He was taken into custody, and police say he will be charged with disorderly conduct.
Mountain is making that snow as fast as they can for their opener this weekend. There's more snow on the hills than ever before. The resort is opening about the same time as last year, and anticipation is high.
Phone has been ringing off the hook, and our enthusiastic snowboarders have been out on a nightly basis here, making sure that we're doing a good job with the snow.
They're doing such a good job that some are hitting these hills earlier than this weekend.
I'm eager to get out snowboarding.
Oh, it's great that it's nice cold weather for him to blow.
Hats, boots, jackets, and gloves are selling. After the first snowfall, stores reported selling lots of warm clothing. Snowmobile sales are also up this year. This recreation store does most of its sales in the spring, but expects to sell more when more snow comes.
Anytime we get any indication that winter's coming, people get excited.
Jerry is getting ready to buy his first snowmobile. After moving here a few months ago, he realized how important snowmobiling is.
I'm excited to buy the sleds. I don't know if I'm excited about the snow.
What should you do when you have a fever? I asked several people.
You get plenty of bed rest. What my mother used to do, put hot compresses on us, let us sweat for 2 hours.
Sometimes take a hot bath, sometimes I just go right to bed.
The best thing to do is to drink plenty of fluids to prevent dehydration. Don't overdress or use heavy blankets to trap the heat. Avoid taking hot showers or baths. They may relieve your achy joints, but they will also increase your temperature. And take fever-reducing medications. But never give a child aspirin to bring down a fever because of the risk of Rye syndrome.
What qualifies as a fever depends on the age of the person, how high the fever is, and if there are other symptoms, such as a sore throat, stiff neck, or severe abdominal pain.
Should you feed a cold or starve a fever?
Make sure that you do feed the fever.
When you have a cold, you have chicken soup. And when you have a fever, usually just let it run its course.
The answer is that it's only a myth, because the body needs adequate calories to fight both cold and fevers. But you also shouldn't force yourself to eat when you're not hungry. The symptoms of a fever are chills, flushing, hot and cold sensations, achiness, and elevated body temperature. When is the fever serious?
Temperature of 100, 101, 102.
It kind of depends.
Fever can be very serious.
A fever over 102 can be serious if it's associated with other symptoms or lasts more than 3 days.
Youth access to tobacco almost in half. What we're saying to the retailers is, work with us. Help us protect our kids from the tobacco industry. Single packs. The ordinance right now reads that single packs will be free. And I forget that really, there is some.
Yesterday you're with the TV and today you're with...
there's a need all year long, and especially at Christmas time, we want to get the kids into a giving spirit. It's going great. We've had a tremendous response from the parents as well as the children. Everybody's really excited about this.
That the use of building inspection staff and police officers to determine the viability of and the value of cars in question may result in the loss of valuable collector vehicles that may be in various stages of restoration.
Appreciate if you, when you do something like that again, that you...
It says Pioneer Classic Collector Vehicles, Collector Military Vehicles, or Street Rods, licensed or unlicensed, operable or inoperable, may be restored in compliance with local...
My feeling is that this is probably about as sort of a rock bottom deal as is going to be possible, and that I would hope they would find it favorable and would support it.
Snowmobilers are getting antsy right about now. There's just enough snow to get eager about the sport, but not quite enough for good riding. Most of the Minnesota trails are scheduled to open December 1st, and you might see some interesting new items out there this winter. For starters, the machines themselves have some nice features.
Hot grips and thumb warmers are up here, and that would be your thumb warmer there. Of course, hydraulic brakes, so there's no cables, no drums to ever adjust. The brake system is similar to an automobile.
And performance is also a big part of today's sleds. Plastic skis are a hot new item.
What happens on the bottom of these skis is they rust. Well, plastic, when it gets colder, it gets slipperier. When steel gets colder, you know, like you grab a steel rail while you're walking down the staircase, you might stick to it. And snow does stick to skis, where plastic will not.
So how much do they cost, you ask?
These skis are about $400 a pair, though.
But of all the great innovations for snowmobiling, this one reigns supreme.
Actually, what this does is this will go around your exhaust pipe. You put foil in here, and you either put your pizza rolls or your hot dogs, and you can stop on the trail and have a pop. This is the exhaust.
And this heats up, and that actually winds up cooking your food.
Yes. So you have a microwave on a snowmobile, basically.
How long will it take you to cook a hot dog in this thing?
I suppose 2-3 miles, I don't know.
Regardless what creature comforts you're interested in, the best way to have fun on the trails is to stay on them. Statistics show that most snowmobile accidents occur when riders venture away from trails and onto lakes or roads. And always keep alcohol out of your snowmobiling plans. Well, I think I've got everything I need now. I've got my hot dogger here, and I've got all the leather gear I need and my new helmet. So now it's time to try out my new sled. Hopefully this thing will cook as well as the hot dogs do. On my new sled, I'm Jason Rice for Channel 6 News.
This is just the start of the busy season, all in all. We haven't really cranked it up yet. And when we do, look out.
Look out for Fast Incorporated, a leading innovator in the snowmobile industry based right here in the old Armory building in Eveleth. It's run by the Carpick brothers, Gerard and David, snowmobile Hall of Famers, born and raised on the Iron Range.
Most of our products are geared towards ski-doo snowmobiles, like our exhaust systems, clutching systems, which are very popular in our industry to get a little more performance out of them, a little more mileage, a little more a little more fun out of the sport.
Some of the best riding we've had all year.
It's a sport the car pigs have revolutionized with this, the M10 suspension. You add it onto your sled to get long travel suspension, more comfort, more mileage, and more control.
Well, we sell it all across the U.S., Canada, Alaska, Europe, Norway, Finland, Sweden, and we do have a couple of customers in Japan, believe it or not. We're proud to say that we still have the best out there.
And come next summer, they'll have the best of something else, too. Bass will become the 5th manufacturer of the complete snowmobile. But this one's a little different, with a much bigger price tag.
This will be the ultimate trail sled. It'll come both with front and rear suspensions designed wholly by Fast. They will be state-of-the-art, they will be semi-active, they will be, this vehicle will be very lightweight, very agile, very aesthetically pleasing. This vehicle will run in excess of $15,000.
We can't show you what it looks like. We can't even tell you its name. It's all top secret. But for the car pigs, it's something they've always wanted to do.
Yeah, it's real exciting. It's something actually my brother and I have thought about for many, many, many years. We've designed whole vehicles for the manufacturers, and why can't we do it for ourselves? And it's a dream coming true.
I think it's a rush, but people very much enjoy it. And of course, you can see that at the conclusion of the holiday, the relief. But they work many, many hours and work hard. And so many of the greeting cards with its multiple addressing and colors and things, it does require a lot of that manual sortation and those many hours to do that. But it's a challenge. This is the fun time of year for us.
How does our state of mind affect our health? That question may soon be answered at the University of Wisconsin's New Health Emotions Research Institute. On Live at 5, we'll tell you more about this ongoing study. Also at 5, where do you plan to do your holiday shopping? If you said the Mega Mall, you should know it might be crowded. The Mall of America is attracting thousands of shoppers from all over the country and all over the world. I'm Barbara Riles. Join me for details of these stories and more news tonight on Live at 5.
attends kindergarten through the 6th grade. We want to triple that computer technology, whatever it may be. We want it available for families. Maximum flexibility relative to merit pay. If they want to give separate special financial rewards to schools that meet expectations or exceed expectations, they can do it. If they want to provide more money to those teachers,
and it is a chemical that we are concerned about for reasons of potential pollution, and also should they be released, there's some health issues involved.
What's that?
Stopping. Hey, no problem. Thank you. Dad's a dentist and her mother's a teacher.
And I know a lot of times when the children come by, it's a nice learning experience for them to realize that, but for the grace of God, anyone could be in this.
Third or fourth year, somebody came back and said they had benefited from some of the donations that came to our group the year before, and they now were having a much better time in life in terms of their economic status, and came back and donated so that others that were hurting might be helped. And
like anyone. Oh, this Norwegian girl, she was such a socialist, she couldn't stand anyone. Her dad.
When the main club burned to the ground, the immenseness of the situation magnified as firefighters discovered 2 people had perished in the fire. 40-year-old Laird Rango of Duluth and 32-year-old Montroy Bouchard died early Friday morning. Bouchard had been staying in an apartment above the gay-owned bar. When firefighters first arrived on the scene at about 3:15 a.m. on Friday, they did not believe anyone was inside.
The lower story of the building was fully involved when we got here, and at that time we decided, very shortly after we got here, we knew we weren't going to save this building.
By the time authorities found out there may be a person inside, it was too late. At about 2:30 Friday afternoon, firefighters discovered the 2 victims, and a close-knit community of friends were forced to cope with the news.
I think they're still in shock. It's just, I don't know, I can't believe it.
The owner of JT's, a nearby club, has known fire victim Laird Rango for 9 years.
Very nice guy. If you're ever depressed or felt kind of low, he always had a couple one-liners to cheer you up. No one ever had anything bad to say about him. He was just a great guy.
Friends that we spoke with say little was known about Troy Bouchard. that he moved to the Northland in the summertime and was a pleasant, friendly bartender at the main club. He has a daughter studying art in Paris, France. Those who did have a chance to get to know Troy tell us he liked being around people and enjoyed a busy, full life. The owner of the main club, Bob Jansen, did not wish to speak on camera but did tell Channel 6 News Troy had asked to stay above the main until he found an apartment in Superior. Jansen's business, valued at more than $130,000, is a complete loss, a void felt by a loyal clientele and fellow business owners.
It'd be terrible for anyone. It could happen to any one of us.
The state fire marshal spent much of today at the fire scene but would not yet comment on any possible cause of the fire. And at the site of the tragedy, flowers have been placed in memory of Laird Rango and Troy Bouchard as the community struggles to come to terms with such a loss. In Superior, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
Where's her?
Can't hold it!
Reel him in!
Can't hold it!
Work him! Work him!
Try!
Easy does it!
He's so strong!
In the movies, they're catching that trophy fish in seconds. But out on Pike Lake, even though the hours tick by, these ice anglers will not be discouraged.
So far it's slow. The youngest one here is the only one that's been catching any fish. He caught one perch and had a few other bites, but the rest of us are just waiting.
I told us I got a fish and no one else got a fish.
It's so cold, they're freezing their fish outside. But inside, it's a very balmy 75 degrees. Bunk beds, a furnace, some pots and pans, a radio, some games, and of course, some fishing holes. Now this is an ice fishing house. And ice anglers say it's not always the fish that keep them coming back.
Normally we have a TV up here and we've got a radio going and play cards and cribbage, and it's mainly to talk with different people. We talk with all the different people that have fish houses out here and see how they're doing, and it's kind of interesting. It's fun to meet people too.
And only in the movies do frustrated ice anglers do this.
Oh no.
He was probably one of the best pilots in the world, and sometimes things just get away from you a little bit.
What stage does the investigation take now?
What stage is the board will sift the evidence until they are satisfied that they either have found a cause or they cannot find a cause. We talked about the fact that that takes normally 30 days. In these conditions, it may take us longer. My first estimate may not be enough. That's, again, it's awful rough in there. To get everything you can, or would like.
That orange thing, that's actually the beacon. I can't see it from where I'm at when I get up. That's paper.
Is that okay to shoot?
Sure.
First interest was to find out whether Peter was here, and so yeah, I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah.
And the excitement of the John Bear Grease sled dog race continues. With mushers and dogs taking a quick break, they're ready to head back on the trail. Officials say so far, everything is going pretty well.
Oh, it's been going excellent. The dogs have been just coming in and going, and all in good shape. Seem to be pretty happy. The trail seems to be in very good condition.
But on Sunday, just 1 mile into the race, Paul Ellering, musher number 15, lost a member of his team. Lane, a 2-year-old male Alaskan Husky, died. Vets say it was a shock.
I examined him a week ago at the Empire 130, and he ran through that 12 to 18 inches of snow without any problems.
This is the Sawbill checkpoint. After this, they'll be stopping at Sky Port. The next checkpoint after that will be Grand Portage, which is about 100 miles from here. At Grand Portage, they'll have a 6-hour mandatory rest stop. Musher Eric Simula says his goal is to finish the race.
So far it's going well, and if I can continue this pace and keeping the health of the dogs, I should make it to the finish line, and that would be a big accomplishment.
On the Bear Grease Trail, Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
Hi guys, thanks for
Hi.
joining
Hi.
us. We've got Dawn, David, and Jason, and we appreciate your joining us. Maybe, Dawn, you could start. This is the story of 3 guys living together, 3 brothers. Can you tell us how this happened to come about?
Well, basically, my character, Mike, has a little trouble with his marriage, but more important than that, I have moved into my middle brother's apartment in order to straighten out their lives.
And I'm sure they appreciate that.
Which is my right as an older brother. And I think my middle brother, played by Jason Bateman, has got it sort of together. The younger brother, nightmare. He's a mess.
No hope.
So through physical abuse, I'm hoping to straighten out his life.
Now, David, I've watched the promos, and you kind of get beaten up. You're slapped around a lot. Is that okay with you?
I don't mind it. I actually enjoy it now. It has an erotic tone to it at this point. Just because only because that's the way Don approaches me with it, like now. Yeah, I've gotten used to it, and it's special for me. I look forward to it every morning.
He's getting a nice callus on the back of his head.
I'm sure, yeah. This show, from the promos that I've seen, Jason, I'm sure this appeals to you. There seems to be a lot of very attractive women in the show. Yeah?
Which is great for me because I'm super heterosexual.
I see. Well, thanks for sharing.
No. Was there a question to that?
What do you think about the evolving plot with lots of lovely ladies?
I couldn't be happier. I'm glad I've got the character that's not married.
Yeah, a lot of new shows out there. You guys think this one's going to make it? Anyone?
I think this is the best new show on television. I'm not going to be shy about it.
Fortunately, this is the only new show that's coming on.
Yeah, right now. But it's just, it's hysterical. It's funny. It's a very character-driven show. We're all 3 of us are characters in our personal lives. You could base a show on any of us. But the fact that we're all together and we all form to kind of form this one great character, like forming like Voltron or something, and
you see, he'll just go on. He's semi-narcoleptic, but he'll stay awake. But he'll talk like he's in a dream.
See, the callus will go to sleep. Yeah, the callus on his head is now growing inside of his head, which is why sometimes those answers are a little fuzzy.
I think it's going to be a hot show, and we thank you guys for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
See you later.
The engines are roaring, the trails are groomed, and the snowmobilers are taking advantage of the holiday weekend.
Trails are great up here. They're nice. They're groomed real good up here, and you can go as fast as you want, which is kind of bad because guys like the DNR will catch you if you keep speeding.
And you bet they will. DNR conservation officers are out patrolling, and they will not let you slip by.
Safety is a big issue because of the volume of traffic, and our goals this weekend are to reduce accidents, reduce complaints of speed, careless operation, and alcohol-related violations associated with the sport of snowmobiling.
Conservation officers are out here on Munger State Trail. They're not only here to check on registration, but to make their presence known, to remind snowmobilers to drive safely.
The main concern is safety, is that, it's the behavior of the operator. It's not necessarily the machine. And the compliance to regulations will, prove a lot safer trails.
And Becky and Bob Radke agree. Rules will prevent accidents. They remember one near accident.
I guess there was one instance I remember when some
people have really whipped by us in an unsafe distance.
Or they passed on the shoulder off the side of the trail. It kind of startles you when they come and cut in front of you. But like I said, other than that, it's been pretty decent.
On the Munger Trail, Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
Pharmacist to my right, Mr. Pearson, to begin the self-interview. Your local legislator, Tom Huntley. It will be driven by the questions that you generate. Each table will have a period of time to...
I'm State Senator Sam Solon from Duluth. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And as my former colleague Tim Penny has said, we're looking for hopefully some solutions.
State investigators spent 7 months looking into allegations of maltreatment at this Hermantown elderly care facility. It's formally known as Senior Living Incorporated. It's managed by the same people who manage Green Acres, a senior citizens board and lodging facility next door. The just-released State Department of Human Services report confirms the suspicion of maltreatment. An I-Team 6 investigation shows that St. Louis County has had concerns about the senior living facility for some time. An earlier I-Team 6 report documented investigations in 1993 and 1994 by the St. Louis County Social Services Department. The details of the latest county findings have not yet been released, but investigators tell us many of the same complaints were looked into again. In 1993, the county issued a correction order citing failure to give prescribed medications, failure to provide care, assistance, and supervision for residents, failure to report suspected neglect, and failure to report the death of a resident. Then in 1994, the facility's license to provide adult foster care was put on probation. And concern about adult foster care being provided at Senior Living Incorporated goes back at least as far as November of 1993. I-Team 6 obtained this letter from a doctor at the Human Development Center. The letter lists several concerns the doctor had about the welfare of vulnerable adults living at the facility, including complaints of residents being given wrong medications and allegations of caregivers lying that they've taken residents to see a physician when they actually hadn't. The doctor writes he was convinced by consistent reports from multiple different trusted staff that there must be some substantial truth to at least a number of the reports. County investigators had several options in dealing with this latest state report documenting resident neglect, from license revocation to probation. Based on the strength of the county investigation, coupled with the state report documenting neglect, St. Louis County Social Services has recommended that Senior Living Incorporated's license to provide adult foster care be put on probation for a period of 1 year with strict requirements for some changes in operating procedure. In Hermantown, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
"7 months looking into allegations of maltreatment at the facility, formerly known as Senior Living Incorporated. It's managed by the same people who manage Green Acres, Senior Citizens Board and Lodging facility next door. The just-released State Department of Human Services report confirms the suspicion of maltreatment. An I-Team 6 investigation shows that St. County has had concerns about the senior living facility for some time. Earlier I-Team 6 report documented investigations in 1993 and 1994 by the St. Louis County Social. The details of the latest county findings have not yet been released, but investigators tell us many of the same complaints were looked into again. In 1993, the county issued a correction order citing failure to prescribe medications, failure to provide care, assistance, and residents, failure to report suspected neglect, and failure to report the death of a resident. Then in 1994, the facility's license to provide adult foster care was put on probation.
And concern about adult foster care being provided at Senior Living Incorporated goes back at least as far as November of 1993. Team 6 obtained this letter from a doctor at the Human Development Center.
The letter lists several questions the doctor had about the welfare of vulnerable adults at the facility, including complaints of residents being given wrong medications and allegations of caregivers lying. They've taken residents to see a physician. The doctor writes he was convinced by consistent reports from multiple different trusted staff that there must be some substantial truth to at least a number of the reports. County investigators had several options. The latest state report documenting resident neglect, from license revocation to probation.
Based on the strength of the county investigation, coupled with the state report documenting neglect, St. Louis County Social Services that Senior Living Incorporated's license to provide adult foster care put on probation for a period of with strict requirements for. In Hermantown, Barbara Riles, Channel 6 News.
For some people, it's the chocolate that puts a smile on their face. What makes you happy? Chocolate. Others like fruit.
When you eat like fruits, like I said, berries, melons, it makes you feel energized, It puts you in a good mood.
And according to Dr. Elaine Ferguson, the food we put in our mouths can make us happy, sad, energized, or depressed. For example, if you want to be happy, Dr. Ferguson recommends eating pastas, fruits, and vegetables. And of course, the foods that many of us like the most, such as chocolate and French fries, supposedly make us depressed.
Those things can potentially contribute to depression because the sugar level goes very high and then it can drop very quickly.
In high-fat foods, Ferguson says it causes depression by the way it's processed, and the fat itself can change the brain function. That's why people like Johnny Doy stay away from the fat.
Fast food, like hamburgers, it makes you feel like you have a load in your stomach. It makes you feel like lazy.
Roy Halverson Sales and Service on Park Point in Duluth was burglarized at 4:30 in the morning Tuesday, January 7th. The company sells outboard motors and other equipment, and it was the outboards the burglars were after. Evinrude motors were displayed in the solarium showcase. The burglars removed one of the pieces of glass and quickly loaded 4 Evinrudes into a pickup truck. The outboards were all dark blue in color and rated 4, 6, 15, and 25 horsepower. They also stole a small Toro snowblower. The total loss was over $8,500. Stolen items like these are sometimes shipped out of the area, but Duluth police suspect these motors were sold locally. Do you know where any of them are or who stole them? Crime Stoppers will pay up to $1,000 for information like this and keep the caller's name anonymous. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683.
The fact of the matter is that those are coincidental activities. Pat and I have had discussions about her interest in returning to the classroom in August, when we originally asked for her to take on this assignment. And although this is probably a little earlier than I had hoped, because I was hoping that we'd have an athletic director in place so that there'd be just that one single transition. In many ways, I'm probably I'm absolutely supportive of the activities that we are currently involved in.
You talked about some of the problems when you were just stating some of the stuff that you had to say. You talked about some of the problems
and it got a pretty strong audit review at that point. Many of the we had a lot of audit recommendations. Some of them were very significant in terms of things that we had to work on, and I think that it came as a disappointment to a lot of us that there were as many things that had to be worked on as possible. Improved internal control.
Over $450 million in 94 and 95, like when we garnish wages and the rest. So there is some legislation. The list I propose today will include the names and photographs of a handful of the most serious offenders who cannot be found. We will place the wanted posters of those on the list in public places and on the internet.
Actually, probably in the future here, I'll be doing a story about schools.
The Addison is a for-profit corporation, and that's the big...
Well, I fear that the school district's going to continue to send out information soliciting from the taxpayers for a for-profit company. If I wouldn't have gone to the post office, would they have continued to do this?
There aren't many stories that can claim to involve a dog, a pie, and a bank robbery. This is one that does. It began last Friday night when a bank robber made a secret stash as police chased him through a sleeping neighborhood. The bank robber was caught, but that's where this story really begins. Fast forward to Sunday.
The pie was right here.
We told you there was a pie.
Trooper smelled it and knows that on Sunday morning we typically have a treat, a Danish or something unusual, and so he ate it while my back was turned. And as soon as he saw that I saw that the crust of the pie was eaten, he almost on his belly crawled over to the door, which is standard procedure. When he's eaten something he's not supposed to, or when he's causing more trouble than I can tolerate, he comes over to this door and he goes out.
That's when Trooper's day got significantly better. He trotted towards the side of the house to take care of some personal business. The dog came back with a mouthful of cash.
So Trooper had pulled the money out and had a couple dollar bills that were completely chewed up, hanging out of his mouth, and so my husband came around to investigate a little bit more closely, and at that point discovered that Trooper had started pulling this bag of, quite a large bag of money out between our rocks. Trooper, no.
Recovering stolen bank loot doesn't wipe Trooper's slate clean. There is last summer's pond swimming incident, and don't forget those teeth marks left on the house post and the kid's sled. But no bones about it. This calamity canine keeps things interesting.
We wouldn't be a family without Trooper, that's for sure.
This goes around your leg and it velcros down. And on this side there's a little holder for things.
Over 400 students from 11 area schools had the chance to have a little fun while displaying the fruits of their creative labor.
They like to be involved in these kinds of activities because they get to interact with other students. They get to come down here with all of these other kids. They get to get out of school for a day. But I saved that part until the end.
Although the kids had the day off from school, they were still learning how to organize and give an effective presentation.
This is all the stuff that I bought for it, and these are a couple of my drawings of it. And questions that I have, like how much Velcro do I need? How thick is the elastic going to be? And what size cork is it going to be?
My invention is a hair is collar, and it's for my dog because she's black and you can't see her out at night, and so if she goes on the road, car might not see her and run her over. So the blinking lights, the car will be able to see the blinking lights and be cautious.
The main purpose of the fair is to help students focus on creativity, problem solving, and higher order thinking. However, everyone agrees that the end result is fun.
I'm not quite sure who has more fun yet. Myself, the volunteers, or the students. I think it's probably a tie.
Here at the Minnesota Student Adventures Conference, you really never know what you're going to find. Have you ever seen something quite like this? In Duluth, Jason Poole, Channel 6 News.
We learned a lot how important it is to stay drug-free and that our life can be much better if we are.
DARE is just a really fun program that I hope that everyone is going to have fun with throughout the years.
Superior School Board members say their budget leaves them about $500,000 short of making necessary repairs and upgrades to the school district. They say roofs need fixing, schools need improvements, and school buses need replacing.
If we are going forward, limited resources, and we are between a rock and a hard spot with respect to revenue caps, what else do we do? What do you want us not to do in our community? Some say don't cut programs, some say don't fix buildings, some say fix buildings, so it's all over the place.
School board members are in the process of deciding what might be cut. Jobs could be lost, extracurricular activities could be eliminated, and improvements could be put on hold. Whatever the solution, people on all sides of the debate say they don't want education to suffer.
I mean, all of us on the board and all of us in the community are strong advocates for education, so we don't want to cut programs. But sooner or later, we have no options. Something has to give.
A spokesperson for a taxpayer watchdog group says the school district doesn't need more money, it needs to manage it better.
But things must change. Right now, the board has painted itself into a corner with 87.5% of its revenues being used for salaries and fringes, leaving virtually nothing, an inadequate amount for badly needed and long neglected building maintenance.
In the past, school boards could raise taxes to pay for such extra expenses, but now a state revenue cap law prevents boards from doing so without voters' approval.
I think people genuinely feel that the priorities are skewed, that not enough money is going directly to kids.
The school board budget committee will meet Monday to discuss budget options. In Superior, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
And women now begin to take their part.
The last several decades, and a commitment by Gary and by Barron
That you will recognize the badge of your office as a symbol of public faith, and that you'll accept as a public truth. And it is the best vantage point, dedicating yourself before God to your chosen profession of law enforcement. Thank you very much.
Laurels. And we talked a little bit about cloning.
Has a career plan.
Hey, please. I'll have to tape it. I go to a room.
Well, it tells like what the local, the national news, and the weather is, so we know what to wear, if we're gonna go outside for noon recess and stuff.
Learning all this new stuff and hearing about the news on the KBJR Channel 6 website, and it's really fun to learn what happened. And
On November 7th, 1993, a 22-year-old masseuse in Katie's massage parlor was beaten, shot, and left for dead. Then 25-year-old Jamie Jardine of West Duluth was found guilty of sexual assault and first-degree attempted murder and sentenced to 60 years in prison.
It appears that he went in there looking for sex, and when it was denied to him, the result was the attack on the employee there at the massage parlor.
But in October of 1996, Douglas County Judge Michael Lucci received a letter bearing the signature of former Superior Police Officer Bill Brayman. The letter said Brayman suppressed evidence and coerced witnesses into giving false statements about Jardine. Brayman denied he wrote the letter or illegally mishandled the investigation. After a 4-month state investigation, authorities have ruled that Brayman did not write the letter.
They did an analysis of the letter itself and found the signature that was with the letter to be a photocopy.
Blank met with the State Division of Criminal Investigation team Wednesday. He says Brayman also passed a lie detector test. Now efforts are focusing on who actually wrote the letter and sent it to the judge.
Well, absolutely. We've got to find out who would do this. I'm incredibly irritated that someone would go to these lengths to kind of interfere with what was a lot of work and a lot of investigation that led to a week-long trial and major criminal convictions and a major criminal sentence.
The information contained in the letter was never broadcast on news reports. The materials in the letter are part of the public record and were brought out here in the courtroom. That leads authorities to believe the letter writer is someone who carefully followed the trial. Jardine's attorney has called for a new trial because of the letter.
Well, when the letter first came to light, it was clear that if the content of the letter was true, Mr. Jardine would clearly be entitled to a new trial because it alleged that evidence was tampered with, hidden, and manufactured.
Meanwhile, the investigation continues and is costing Wisconsin taxpayers more money every day.
We have to find out who did this because this is an outrage.
In Superior, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News. Do you know what the Weights and Measures team does?
No.
Oh, have you ever heard of Weights and Measures Week?
On the back roads?
They don't work on the back roads, but they travel them all over the state, making sure scales and flow meters are accurate. In fact, the Weights and Measures team was in Superior yesterday, one of 2 surprise visits to businesses annually, checking calibrations.
when I first got my license, I was thinking they could really rip you off with this, and I guess it's reassuring to know that there's a weights and measures team.
Okay, so you're happy that they're being honored this week?
Yeah.
Not known for its accolades, the Weights and Measures team is known for saving you money. On average, $300 a year for each Wisconsin family. Most of its laws pertain to businesses, but they are laws designed to protect consumers. Wisconsin law requires that both the price and gallon indicators return to zero before you pump gas. Another example, making it law that customers see the price and the weight of fresh produce being weighed at the checkout line.
I always check it.
Do you ever check like the pounds, how much it was per pound? And
Yes. In fact, we just talked about it here when I was buying the cabbage.
What
how
did you
much it
talk
was
about?
a pound, how much it was, and make sure that she got the price right.
State authorities suggest you always check your receipt after buying groceries and make sure your pump's at zero at the gas station. And while you may not know their name or what they do, if you have any questions on weights and measures, there's a team of experts waiting to help. In Superior, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
Kind of thank goodness. Did you guys take some time off afterwards? I know Bayfield, Sheriff Neff at the time.
That's why we wanted these officers to be presented with the valor, because they did something that was above and beyond the normal call.
Fat and butter to 2 grams of saturated fat. Oh, much larger amount of saturated fat. 80. Okay.
For example, when we look at packaged meats, they'll see, okay, this has 3 grams of fat per ounce, and this product has 8 grams of fat per ounce. And sometimes they've never realized that there was a difference in something that looks relatively the same.